go ahead and get started. First of all, I'd like to welcome you all. Thank you for coming on I know a busy Thursday night. There's a lot going on. Finally got some spring weather. We've been waiting on that for 7 weeks now. It's great to have you here. Just real quickly before we do introductions, how many of you were at that the 8th grade matriculation meeting earlier in the year, just to show of hands, just so I have an idea? Great. All right. How many of you are coming from our middle school? Okay. New transfers? All right, great. And we got a little diversity here. Awesome. Well, welcome. It's great to have you here. I'll talk briefly about our goals, but before I do, I'd like to do introductions. My name is Steve Graff. I serve as your athletic director. This is my 10th year. I believe it's my 30th year as an athletic director. I started off at a Division II school down in Texas, moved up to a Division III school up in Wisconsin, and then got into the high school level. This is my 19th year at 2 high schools. I was a college football coach for 21 years. That was my past life. I had an opportunity to coach at all 3 levels. I played college football at a Division III school, Cal Lutheran out in Thousand Oaks. Little piece to that. That's back in the old days where Coach Landry used to bring the Dallas Cowboys. So I got to experience that growing up.
Hi, my name is Shane Finney. I'm Associate Athletic Director, and I'm just completing my 23rd year here at Cranbrook. I also wear a few different hats. I'm the varsity basketball coach, boys basketball coach. I coach girls, I coach track, swimming, a bunch of other things. But my favorite hat that I wear is I'm a parent. I have a high school senior right now. It's graduating, so it's a little nerve-wracking right now. And I have my older son graduated in 2016 and is playing ball in college right now. So that's my favorite hat. So I can answer a lot of different questions from a lot of different avenues. I taught at Brookside for 10 years before moving to the athletic department for the last 13. Any questions?
Coach also ran track at Eastern Michigan. You need to throw that one in there. Again, we work together arm in arm. It's a big job. We've got a lot going on. We offer a lot of sports. We'll walk you through that. I don't know where she slipped off to.
She's directing traffic.
Oh, she's directing traffic. If you saw her, and I'll make sure when she comes in, reintroduce her. But Rebecca Tufts is our administrative assistant. She takes care of us. The phone calls that you make initially when you have additional questions, Rebecca will probably be the one that's answering those calls. Her father's a faculty member here in the science department. She grew up here. She is a lifer. She played sports here, is a great artist, and came back and worked in the Art Academy, and again, part of our great team. Also not here is Randy Goddard. Randy is sort of new to our program. He is our new equipment manager. And so you athletes will get a chance to get to know Randy. Great guy. Our students love him. He's just the all-around guy that's always there for our students. And of course, he takes care of all of our equipment. Steve Carter, and we'll talk a little bit about Steve here in just a moment. Steve serves as our athletic trainer. And let me get back to him because there's some nice parts to go with that. The reason we're having this meeting is real simple. We realized in my first few years here as your athletic director, every time we started the new school year, there were hundreds of phone calls. What about this? What about that? In some instances, a lot of redundancy, but in others, not so much. Specific to you athletes, to your children, sports specific, and we thought, let's have a meeting and let's see if we can get as much of this out there to you, our new families, as we possibly can. And that's really our goal, is to do just that tonight. We will try to hit on just about everything, and I know I want to try to get you out here in an hour and whatever that little bit of time is, and I'll do my best at that. At any time you feel like you need to go up and get some more to drink, to eat, please just feel comfortable doing so. I'm going to ask that you hold your questions till the end because there's a pretty good chance we're going to address all of those, okay? And if we don't, at the end I'm going to say, please, you can come on up afterwards. Shane and I are going to kind of tag team this thing and go over a lot of things that I think are really going to help you. The first thing that I want to start off with is this. We are about educational athletics. If I've ever, in 30 years, if I've ever spent more time talking about that specifically, it's now. Why? Because, as we're going to talk about here in a little bit, there's an incredible amount of emotion attached to athletics. There are incredible expectations, realistic and some not so much. And so we want to talk about what that is. And I just threw up the definition. You can read that. I don't need to read that for you. But at the end of the day, this is the extension of the classroom. That's why we have athletics. It's part of our mission. We believe it helps our kids grow. We believe it teaches our kids to learn about themselves. We hope it's fun. Now, you notice I didn't say to pad college resumes to get you a Division I scholarship. That's not why we're here. Okay, and we're going to talk a lot more about that as we go. We do offer a lot here. We're going to go over all the sports programs that we have. And it's safe. It's challenging. We are pretty good. Okay? It's after school. We meet the expectations of Title IX. We offer a lot for both our girls and our boys. What do we want to know? We want you athletes, you students, as you look at this, what can you expect out of your high school experience? You're going to learn a lot about yourself. We hope at the end of the day, we build some resiliency, some toughness. Okay? This is a great place to build that. We hope that you're going to understand that whether you play in an individual sport like golf or swimming, you remember that at the end of the day, it is still about being part of a Cranbrook team and all that goes with that. And sometimes athletes are struggling with what that means and what are the responsibilities of that. We'll talk a lot about that. We want you all to take risks. So when we start talking about multi-sport athletes, you're going to hear that a little bit tonight. Because some of you in this room may have been born with a hockey stick, and that's all you've ever done. It's safe. It's comfortable. It's what you've been prepared for. We're going to say, take risks, take some chances. Try some other sports. See what that's like to you. At the end of the day, we hope to build a foundation. We hope that by the time you graduate, and it'll come quickly, all of you new students, okay? Quicker than I can even begin to make you feel. We want you to be able to say, wow, I was part of a team. I struggled. I got knocked down. I got picked back up. We won some games. We lost some games. I made a whole lot of friends that are going to be for life. Now, there's certain values, yes. Any sport program, any athletic program in America is going to talk about these things. Yes, desirable outcomes. And they're all obvious. Teamwork, sportsmanship, community, leadership, confidence. Those are all part of it. That's what you hope to get out of it. Okay? You notice I didn't say state championship. Okay? I hope those come too. But look at the other aspects of it. Resiliency and perseverance. I'm going to get on my soapbox for just a second and say it's my biggest concern right now with all of our students. Because at the end of the day, sorry moms and dads, we've been there to catch our children or plow the path for them, and they're not learning how to fail and not knowing how to cope with that failure. Ask any coach, ask any educator right now. It's the #1 topic. So, frankly, what I want to tell all of you is that's part of what we want to build. They're not always going to be perfect. Every game, you're not all going to be the starting quarterback, the starting point guard, the starting goalie. The all-stater. It's not. There's nothing fair about athletics. Some of us are going to be born to run fast, jump high. Some of us love basketball, and genetically we're going to be 4'5". Okay? There are going to be challenges, and that is okay. Moms and dads, please listen to what I'm saying. That is okay. So what I'm going to tell you, and we would spend a lot of time talking about this in our parent meetings, when your child comes home and is in tears, is frustrated, because it'll happen, okay? Sit around at the dinner table and think about where you were when you were a kid and think about how your parents handled you. And then apply some of that same thing. Help them deal with and manage failure to build that resiliency, to build that mental toughness so that they can go on, get up the next day, and do just what they were doing and keep persevering. You do that, you're going to be a lot happier at that dinner table. Do we hope to develop skill? Absolutely. Fitness? Of course. And that's going to be in the off season and during the season. Okay? I can't emphasize enough. We can't emphasize enough. At the end of the day, it's going to be about relationships. Your relationship with your coaches, the relationship with your teachers, the relationship with your teammates. That will be lasting. Some of my best friends, I can name 10 of them right now, are guys that I grew up with. We played in the 7th grade together. We graduated from high school. They live in Oregon. They live in Tennessee. They live in California. We still get together, and of course you wouldn't know if we were still in sometimes the 6th grade. I hate to admit that, but as I said, you're going to learn about yourself. You are going to compete. It is about competition, and that's scary. Wow, I might fail. I might lose. Yeah. Okay? But from that, what's going to happen? You're going to grow. And that's pretty darn cool when you think about it. At the end of the day, you're out there doing things in front of your peers. Coaches are looking at you. Your parents are sitting in the stands. You know, you got officials, you got spectators, people you don't know. You're playing in schools you've never been at before, and you're out there trying to do your best, whatever that is. Trying to reach your potential, whatever that is. You don't know, and I sure don't know. Your coaches don't know. But they're going to try and get it out of you. Have fun. It has got to be fun. Mom and Dad, please, I'm begging you at this point in time, and now I'm getting into a little bit of the sociology of sport right now. Some of our kids are asking us, how do we tell our parents to back off? I just want to go out and play. Kid doesn't become a captain. I talk to that student. How you doing? Coach, I'm okay. I understand. It's my parents I'm worried about. Think about that, moms and dads in here. Think about that. All right? So we've got to keep it in perspective. These kids got to not be worrying about if I don't score 5 goals, I'm not going to get to college. I'm not going to be the guy or the girl that either my parents hope I'm going to be or expecting me to be, or I think I need to be. Wipe that off, please. Let them go out and have fun every day after school, and let our coaches try to make them be the best they can be. Now, again, I'm going to brag for a second and try not to very long. Instead, I'd rather show you some pictures of some happy campers. MLife started this matrix, MLife Media, about 5 years ago, Coach, I think it was, and they decided they were going to put together a matrix to determine who the most successful athletic programs are in the state. And the very first year, Cranbrook was the most successful athletic program in the state. We've been in the top 5 ever since. 2, 3, 4, and 5, I think is what it is. So we're doing an awful lot of good things. We're not perfect. Never going to be. We work hard. We work really hard at trying to be the best we can be so that athletes in this room, so your journey is good, that you have fun, that we can be competitive, and maybe at the end of the day we get what I'm going to call up here some paychecks. This is just some recent champions I had. That's what I'm going to call them. You know, for this to happen, the ball bounced right, we got a couple of good calls, we stayed healthy, coaches did their job, athletes trained, we had great chemistry, and we probably had great leadership. Okay? Nothing magic about it. But pretty cool nonetheless. I will tell you the very first time we won my first championship here at Cranbrook, 10 years ago, on the very same day, both girls and boys hockey won their state championship. That was my very first day. I got to tell you, I got in the car, called home and said, called my dad and said, boy, you're not going to believe what this day was like. I'm really going to like this job. Okay? It was special to me. I didn't have any part in it. I was just along for the ride. So you're just seeing, there's a lot of happy faces. And athletes, this is what I want you all to aspire to. Okay? Just kind of set your mind for that. This is why you're going to do all the work that you're going to do. Frankly, why you've done some of the work you're already doing. Okay? That's a lot of them up there, and forgive me for having all the slides, but frankly, as I was going through it today, I didn't want to eliminate anybody. Those are all good memories for me. Athletes, great. We've got a lot of athletes. I think in our State of the Schools report, I think I have to comment on this every year, the number of all-staters and all-leaguers and individual accolades and team accolades. Again, that's really cool, and it's neat to celebrate. It's that icing on the cake. Our athletic department was recognized by the state 3-4 years ago as an exemplary program. Coach and I and my staff, by the way, turn around, Becca, you wave to everybody. There's Miss Tuff. So again, when you make those phone calls, it's Rebecca again. She takes care of Shane and I, keeps us in line. We need that in our office. So you know, we feel that we aspire to be exemplary. We feel that we strive to be excellent for you. Okay, it's important for us to try to be the best we can be. I can tell you in this room right now, we have a whole array of expectations of what you're hoping athletics is going to be. We have students that have never put a glove on, picked up a ball. We have students that are just happy, hoping to be able to be in a uniform with CK on. We have students that aspire to play collegiately and beyond, and everything in between. Okay? So I want you to know that. As I said, I've already mentioned educational athletics, and I've already mentioned the journey. To me, that's the biggest part. If the journey's good, all the trophies, icing on the cake. So, you know, we offer a lot. For a school of our size, 811 upper school students, 30 varsity sports, 16 girls and 14 boys, and 26 sub. That's a lot. That's a lot for a school our size. At the varsity level, we'll tell you it's very competitive. Okay? Think of it this way, athletes, and think about where it was at your middle school. You have students, again, varying degrees of genetics and training and all that is going in that. And they're every moment of every day, it's all they think about. Okay, now, we throw a little wrench in that because we got some hours of homework to do and all that good stuff. But it is competitive. Our teams are competitive. Our coaches and our athletes are striving to be the best they can be and striving to win. Our sub-varsity are both. They're developmental and competitive. And your kids, that doesn't matter that they're a 9th grader in sub-varsity. They are trying to be the best they can be. Now, if you're sitting in this room, you're probably going to ask yourself some questions. And the reason we put this up here is because we have some stories that go with it. There is this sense that if I am a JV athlete, I've either let myself down, my coaches down, I'm subpar, whatever the case may be. Let me share something with you. My daughter, who was a pretty darn good athlete, was a 4-year varsity letter winner in soccer and basketball. And if I could do it all, and yes, was I proud she made varsity as a freshman? If I could do it all over again, I'd have gone to coach and I'd said, no, you make her play junior varsity for the first year or two. And I'll tell you why. Because at the junior varsity level, you're with kids, your age, your development, you play. See, my daughter was good enough to make the team and be a great practice player and challenge the heck out of seniors and juniors. But guess what happened? Those kids that were down there at the JV program were playing together. Guess same grade, okay, as my daughter. And they were playing games. And you know what? They were failing. They were missing the layup and missing the shot and missing the goal and tripping over their feet. But they were evolving and developing confidence. And what you start to see is you start to see this. Game time matters. Practice reps matter. And if you think that being on a varsity and sitting on a bench is going to make you better, it doesn't. So I want you all to think about that, athletes. Doesn't mean I'm telling you to not aspire to be, but think about that, moms and dads also. 69% student participation. It's not mandatory. Make sure everybody hears that. You don't have to play a sport here. So, as you can see, 559 of our students are playing a sport. That tells me we're doing some good things. Okay? I'll talk about the credit, by the way, everybody, so we'll put that one to bed a little later. You might ask, well, you know, in this age of specialization, you know, how many kids play 2 or 3 sports? There's your number right there. We tend to see if there's a trend. Our freshmen and sophomores tend to be more 2 and 3 sport athletes. Our juniors that might have been 3 sport athletes kind of start to be 2 sport athletes. And sometimes by senior year, we start to see that 1 sport athlete Because we've got a student that maybe is going to go on to the next level, maybe based on where they are with their academics, their plans, their likes, all that goes with it. Things change, and you grow as students. So you'll make those decisions. You see the Michigan average, 43% of multi-sport athletes. We encourage that. With a school of 800, frankly, we wouldn't survive athletically without multi-sport athletes. We're not enough of us. And that's hard, because we're stretching. You saw all the sports we offer. You might ask the question, well, can my son or daughter play 2 sports in the same season? In rare occasions we have, but it's sport specific. So think about it. Could a soccer player, right now it's girls soccer season, could a soccer player also hypothetically be on the track team? Well, both coaches got to agree. Guess what? Now all of a sudden you've split your time. You're half the time with your teammates, and here you are, but half the time you're saying goodbye to the league. You're having to make a decision. Well, I got a game and I'm track meet on the same day. Now I got to choose. Who am I going to let down? That becomes a real challenge. Does it happen on occasion? Rarely, but I can tell you, and Coach will too, in just about every occasion, it was a struggle for everybody in between. I'm just being honest with you. Okay? Only have so many hours in the day. Your body can only take so much training. You got to study, you got to eat, you got to sleep, right? So think about that, and I hope that answered that question. We got lots of head coaches, okay? All right, lots of coaches, excuse me. Former professional athletes, college coaches, Hall of Famers, years and years of experience. Are they perfect? Again, I'm going to say no. They've won awards and accolades. That's all fine and good. Are our varsity coaches better than our junior varsity coaches? Of course they are. They're that way at any school you go to right now. Okay? You're more experienced and so on, or at the varsity level. Oftentimes we see some of our younger coaches, developing coaches, at the JV level. And we'll all say that's where we started. Okay? So that's okay. But I'm here to tell you, we're not perfect. We're going to try to work hard. I think they're really good teachers. I think they care about our kids. They care about their journey. Over 300 years experience. And again, at the end of the day, I think that's the important piece. We've been knocking, I'm going to knock, I better find some wood here. We've been fortunate to be able to hire some really good coaches. We have the administration that supports us, enables us to hire good people. And Coach Finney and I think we set the parameters and expectations, and we've been very, very lucky. But here's what I'm going to tell you. Athletes, our coaches are probably going to have different styles than your coaches, your club coaches, the people you've trained with, your personal trainers, whatever the case may be. And guess what? You're no longer playing for them. You're playing for us. So who do you think needs to adapt? Okay? Think about that. All right? You might be put into a position you've never played before. Your whole life you came out and you were, name your sport, name your position. Okay? And you may get you here and go, you know what? We've got an all-state senior there. But you're good enough, we need you here. And if I were to say, what do some of the athletes struggle with? That very thing. What do some of the parents struggle with? That very thing. I raised my child to be this. Thank you. But we need your child to be that for us. Okay? It may be your whole life I'm a goalie. I want to be a goalie in college. You are the best athlete, and we need you as an attack man in lacrosse. Okay? We all got to adapt. Guess what? We're going to run different systems than you ran. You got to adapt. Okay? That's the resiliency that we're talking about. Moms and dads, at this particular point, well, no, because you're still in school. But when school gets out at the middle school, relinquish your control. We need to say that out loud, or are we okay with that? You gotta relinquish your control. I know, we know, you've coached, thank you. You've had your children in clubs and lessons and all those things. You've invested a lot in your children. We know it. We see that investment here. But now you need to trust us. And I will tell you, our kids learn to trust us pretty quick. Moms and dads, you need to do the same. Okay? I'm just going to say it. And I probably haven't said that as much as I have the last couple of years. And that's hard, because again, you got to relinquish control. As I said, your sons, your daughters, you athletes, you've been in the elite. Kind of a little joke here that everybody's in. We get it. Youth sports right now, what is the issue? $15 billion industry annually. That means that you, the parents out there in the world, have invested a lot of money, time, energy with expectations. It guaranteed nothing. You hope that at the end of the day, as I did when I put my daughter through, club soccer and all that stuff, you hope that it gave them some confidence and built some skills to put them in a position to have some success. That's all. Nothing else. Because everything you've invested, there are no guarantees. Remember what I said. There will be that child that genetically is going to run faster than me. Okay? That is what it is. For those that we've struggled with coaches, club coaches that have made all kinds of promises. Your kid is going to be the next. Well, of course they're going to say that. You've been paying them. You think they're going to tell you otherwise? Reality, folks. That's all we're talking about here. It's just reality. We're dealing a lot now with the club environment, and what is the difference? Well, I think one of the things is the relationships. I've had hockey players say, yeah, I go play for Honeybait, but it's all for me and one for me. When I get to play with my ones that transition and play for Cranbrook, it's the best thing I ever did. The swimmer, you'll see a picture of him a little later, Olympic hopeful. His club coach told him, no, you do not swim for your high school, you swim for me. So he did for 3 years. Came into our office and said, Coach, I don't care what my club coach says, I want to swim for Cranbrook. After the season, he came to us and said it was the best thing he ever did. Went on captain at Michigan. Went on, tried out in the Olympic trials. Listen to what I said. That's coming from a kid. It's educational, it's student-centered, and I think that's a big part of this thing. Talk about specialization. So, Coach, how do I handle, through my career, my child has only done one sport. It's what we love, it's what we want to do. All I'm going to say is just go Google specialization. You're going to get all the data you need scientifically. Higher rates of injury, higher rates of burnout, it's all there. I don't even need to speak to it. Okay? What do we see? We see athletes that try to do other sports for the first time, and they're a little awkward because they haven't developed those muscles. And yet when they do, it gives the muscles that they've been using now from the time they were this high, it gives them a chance to rest. I can't tell you how many injuries I see of students that have been in a specific sport for already 10 years. By the time they're juniors for us, their body's done. Their shoulders, their knees, their hips. I've never seen more hip and knee surgeries, shoulder surgeries, ever. And I've been in athletics my whole life. The neat thing about different teams also is this, kind of going back to the coaches. You're going to be coached differently by each coach. And your teammates are going to be different teammates, athletes, on each team. And that in itself is really unique and fun. At the end of the day, you're going to really appreciate that. College recruiting. Coach, you want to speak to the college recruiting piece?
Yeah, college recruiting. I've got a lot of experience. I have a Division III baseball player right now that's playing Division III. And I also have a high school senior who's a Division I baseball player being recruited, or he's already signed to next year to play at the MAC level. So I've seen all levels. As a high school coach, I've sent kids that have played from NAIA schools all the way up to Division I Big Ten schools and have played professional basketball overseas. So I've seen all of that, okay? And you see that he put myth right there on that slide, right? The myth about that, if you only play hockey, right? That's the only way that you can possibly play in college. If you only play, swimming is a big one that we see with the injuries and things, okay? Urban Meyer, who was at Ohio State for all those years, his last recruiting class at Ohio State, he had 46 football players come in. 44 of them played another sport other than football. Right? So here's one of the most successful college coaches of all time. I don't care for Vermont very much, or Ohio State, but that's what that's telling you right now is that. As my son was being recruited for baseball, right? What does recruiting coordinator say? How's your basketball season going? What's going on in basketball? What kind of training are you doing for basketball? So that myth about you're not going to get recruited if you play other sports, it's a total myth. They want athletes at the next level. They want athletes that do multiple things, and don't get caught up. And that's the only way they're going to get to go there, because it's strictly not true. So. All right. Next part is my kind of role in the athletic department. I'm a nuts and bolts guy. I do all the scheduling, all the transfers, most of the paperwork, those kind of things. So we're going to talk a little bit about those things. If you are transferring from another school and you're not a 9th grader, is there anybody in here that's that way? Do you have any 10th grade transfers? Okay, we got it coming in. Okay. So if you're transferring in from another school, probably next week or the week after, you're going to get an email from me that has an educational transfer form. This is a form that comes from the MHSAA, and I send it to you. You'll fill it all out. You'll have your high school that you're currently at, principal sign off on it, and they'll say, John's not transferring for athletic purposes. Okay? We'll send it in, get to the state, and it's all taken care of. Usually that's not a problem. But just be looking for that form. Michigan has a new transfer rule, and I won't bore most of you with this. If you transfer in from one high school to another, and without 13 exemptions, we have some exemptions, a boarding school, if you, you move closer to Cranbrook or whatever that is. A non-9th grader, again, 10th, 11th, or 12th grader, and we don't take 12th graders. Whatever sport you've played, so if you were at Seaholm and you played football, the next year, when you come to Cranbrook, you're ineligible for football. Whatever sports you played at your previous school, you are ineligible for the next year at that school. Now, if you play football, you can run cross country, but you can't play football. So I hope that makes sense. Most of you, that doesn't apply to you. So there's a pretty strict transfer rule on that, on why you're transferring. And you ask, why does that happen? Because people out there cheat. And we all know schools, and I'm not going to mention any schools around here. We all know those schools that are recruiting for athletics. I'm going to tell you right now, we don't recruit for athletics. People in our profession, they don't believe us. All right? We don't recruit for athletics. Because we know if you're not going to make it here academically, it ain't going to work anyway, so it doesn't matter. Okay? So all you kids here, you're here for academics, and you know that. But others, not so much sometimes. So there's also, in our Catholic League, there's transfer rules. If you transfer from one Catholic school, league member school to another, there's rules on that. So if you have any questions on transferring, those are coming in at that level, we can talk at the end. Health forms, everybody, you're going to get inundated with those. If you've already been at Cranbrook, you're going to know the Magnus and getting all those things. Everything's done online now, which is great. Make sure you get that all in by that deadline. And that deadline, they're going to tell you, is August 1st. Okay? And you're going to say, well, guess what? My physical, I can't take my physical. My medical insurance says I can't take my physical till August 23rd. Your son or daughter will not be able to participate in athletics until you get that physical done. So what I'm telling you is get to the local clinic and get the $25 physical, and then go to get your big physical. So please, that August 1st date, because we start up sports August 12th, is the first day of fall sports. Okay? So please, as you're looking ahead, I just saw some looks on there, August 12th. This is high school, not middle school anymore, August 12th. Okay? So anyways, with that, you have different forms in there, all those kind of things. Save a copy of that once it's submitted, and make sure you're really paying attention to the boxes that you've checked. As a parent here, I've seen those boxes, and sometimes we miss them, and all of a sudden your son shows up, daughter shows up for preseason, you're not checked off the list, you can't participate. So make sure you really pay attention to that. That's a big thing. That it's non-negotiable. We cannot allow anybody to participate without those forms. So, CramNet. It's a great tool and a confusing tool. And I know we got some people that are laughing and shaking their heads. For those of you who are new to Cranbrook, CramNet is our intranet in which everything from your classroom to your clubs to your athletic schedules anything you're involved in at Cranbrook is on Cranbrook. And the beautiful thing about it is everything is personalized to your son or daughter and to your portal. So whatever your son or daughter are in, from the play to their algebra class to whatever clubs they're in, to their athletic schedules, once you pop on CredNet, that's what you see. You don't see everybody's unless you really choose to, which you wouldn't want to do that. So CredNet's the way we communicate out for our athletic schedules and those kind of things, the calendars, locations, rosters, everything will be on that CredNet site. Stories, pictures, downloadable forms, those kind of things. I'll put a pitch in as a head coach. I love when I have my parents involved who want to take pictures, who want to write stories, who want to do some things on that page. We love your help. As coaches, say, hey, I want to take pictures for you, and you can put those up on the site. We love that. So, credit. Okay? All the handbooks are on there, and I know it's tough to read a handbook, as I can attest. But all those handbooks, the student athletes, the parent communication guide, everything is right on your CredNet team page, and you can get right to it. The preseason information, you're going to want to see that. That's up there now, I believe, right? So for fall, the starting times. When does JV soccer start? When does football start? Okay, when does field hockey start? All that information is right up on CredNet, and everything you possibly need will be right there. Concussion, return to play, those forms are up there that you have to fill out. Our intramural offerings, we offer several intramural sports that if you aren't in season and like to do that. And also we have the athletic waivers. Let's say you're playing travel hockey in the fall, you want to get outside credit for that, we'll get you credit for that. The waivers are up on credit. Everything you need is there. This is a fun one. Heads, I listen to instruction to my coach shouts, and tails, I listen to instruction to my dad shouts. We've all been there. My turn for my soapbox. Okay, I'm a dad. Highly competitive athletes. We've all been next to that guy or that girl that we don't want to sit next to, and we hope to God that we're not that person. Right? That's out there telling their kid where to go. I watched this today at my son's baseball game. The dad's out there moving his kid at shortstop. Please don't do that. Okay? I kind of have a rule that when I say at my parent meetings, you can only be one thing. You get to be the dad, the player, the coach, or the referee. Which one do you want to choose?
Or the mom.
Or the mom or dad, sorry, the parent. I meant the parent. You get to be a parent, you get to be the coach, you get to be the referee, or you get to be the player. Which one do you want to be? You only get to be one today, so choose. And it kind of gets a laugh, but then you start thinking about it and go, oh no, I don't want to be that guy or that girl. So I will tell you right here, they're all bad. And I apologize if there's any officials out there. Yeah. I'm a varsity basketball coach. They're terrible. But you know what happens when you yell? They get worse. And you know what the bad ones get? Vindictive. And then they just totally stick it to you. Right? And we were at a baseball game probably 3 weeks ago, and all of a sudden some of our parents are just starting to rail on this official. And I've known him for years. He's terrible. Right? I don't know what to say. He's terrible. And I said, if you keep yelling at him, he's going to get worse. And one dad just kept going. I said, you got to stop. He's going to get worse. Sooner or later, he just completely kicked another call. And I looked at him, he's like, I'm sorry, you're right. They're bad, right? And it's terrible. I was meeting with the head of the officials, the whole MHSA, and he said, do you know what being an official is like? And I said, oh, no, I don't. I know that I've yelled at a few as a coach, and I've changed my life. He's like, where else can you pay $5 to get yelled at like crazy for an hour and a half and not get punched in the nose? And I thought, oh, that's a really good thing. And we all know, we've been there, and people ride the officials. You know, we are very lucky here for the most part. Our parents don't do that. And we don't allow our coaches to do that. And it's just, they're going to kick them, and we let them know. But it is what they're going to kick the calls. Bus ride, okay? Oops, I got to go back. The bus ride. We like our kids to ride the bus, right? They ride to the games, obviously. We provide busing to almost every event. We also like our kids to ride the bus home. And you ride the bus home when you win. It's great because you're cheering, everybody's going crazy, you're listening to music, everybody's having a great time. But there's also something to be said about riding that bus home after you lose a game. And you got to sit there in complete silence. And you're looking at each other going, oh my God, we stunk tonight. All right, we got to figure this out. It's a great tool. So all I'll ask is, you know, there might be some times you're like, I'm going to take my kid home. Well, talk to that coach. All right, sometimes the bus ride home is great. This is my favorite thing to talk about, the car ride home. I've coached my sons forever, and multiple sports and all those things. And I know there's many of you sitting right here, and there's many of you boys and girls, or young men and women right here, that are going to relate to what I'm going to say. That car ride home is miserable, right? Because dad or mom are asking you, why did you suck? You know, they're asking you that question. You know, that was the official's fault. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? So probably about 7 or 8 years ago, you know, I'm on the ride home, and I'm head varsity coach. Coach both of my boys at the varsity level. They're both all-state basketball players, right? And the one thing I would say when you get in the car, I enjoyed watching you play tonight. Only thing we said. Now, sometimes it was a tough game. That car ride was miserable because there wasn't a word said. And I live a half hour away. But we did not talk about the games. We didn't. And, you know, I wondered, is this really sinking into my kids? We didn't really do that. So I was at a conference. Missed the game, called my son, hey, you know what, go on, tell me about it. He's like, Dad, you would enjoy watching me play. I went, whoa, he heard my car ride. Every time we got in the car, that's what I said. I enjoyed watching you play. And that's what he wanted to hear. And so what I'm telling you is this car ride is the most miserable thing in the world for your kids sometimes. Don't be part of it. I'm not, it's just fact. I mean, I pulled up an article today, I was reading it, and they talk about that being just miserable. So everybody wants to really break down that game. Your kid knows if they play good or bad. Right? They know that. All they want to know is that you love them and you enjoy watching them. I'll get off that soapbox. One of my favorite things to talk about is this guy right here, Steve Carter. He's our athletic trainer, right? He is an all-star, and I mean that in every sense of the way. Steve Carter was with the Detroit Tigers for 25 years, right? He worked on Justin Verlander, Miguel Cabrera, all the Tigers that are there now. He is the man. 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago, 5 years ago, we had a position open, and he called us up and said, hey, I want to get back to my roots before I retire. I want to come back to high school. And we're like, please sign here. Let's go. And he's a magician. He's a rehab king. My boys have benefited tremendously for him. My older son, who's playing college, still comes back and sees him about different things. He's revolutionized our training room, where it's not just a place we come in and get a Band-Aid and a bag of ice. He rehabs these kids and gets them out there. He's got connections all over the state and country. You need a good knee doctor, he's the guy to go. If you have a bad shoulder, he worked on Verlander's shoulder. It's pretty good. He's going to be able to take care of you with that. So kids can come and see him right after school. Before Steve got here, we'd have 2 or 3 kids kind of sneaking in, getting their ankles taped up. Now we have 30 to 40 kids every day in there, getting taped, getting rehab, getting STEM with all the modalities, all those kind of things. And so he's here every day. We also have another trainer that's here part-time, who was the head trainer of Brother Rice for 5 years. And now he's here. So your sons and daughters are going to be well taken care of. Athletes that are in this room, you need to know who Steve is, because he's going to make you better. He's going to make you better. Injuries, you know, your son and daughter will get injured playing sports. They will, at some point. They'll get injured, and you need to understand that. Luckily, we have a great training staff like we just talked about. What's their role, preventive medicine, assess, and return to play. They will not put your son or daughter back out there until they are ready to go. fully ready to go. And sometimes the trainers know they're ready to go before they think they're ready to go. Like, you're okay. Go ahead. You're good. You can play. There's a website on CranNet for that. Training room is right across from Capital Gymnasium. Those kind of things. And, Steve's also really big about preventative. So lots of stretching, a lot of conditioning, those kind of things. And is really, we have really, along with Steve, set the bar in the MHSA with concussions and how we deal with them. We are so far ahead of the curve that the state looks at us, what are you guys doing? Steve takes tests where all the kids have their cell phones and they're doing balance tests and they're doing sway tests. And he does this for every team. Every contact sport will have a baseline. So we really, really work hard on the concussion part of that. We're very lucky. Our venues, we've got a lot of venues here. This is 312 acres, and you've seen most of them. And some of you, for the first time here, might have traveled around trying to find this place. It's also those things. So our lower fields down there, it's where those sports are played that are listed. There are some parking issues. We do understand that. Thompson Oval right out here for football and lacrosse. That field's over at Kingswood. And those there. So, getting ready here, tennis. These north courts will be torn down here. We're getting ready to put a $3 million tennis facility over there at that north court. So, it's going to be outstanding. We're very happy for that. We're very lucky. We have 2 different weight rooms. We have a huge weight room that's above the music rooms as you'll pass out there that our kids use religiously. 70 to 80 kids in there a day. It's fantastic. Then we have our equipment rooms right off campus. Squad size, how are teams determined, right? A lot of it's based on how many uniforms we have. A lot of it's based on how many positions there are. In basketball, I know, I keep between 12 and 13. Some sports are cut sports, some sports are not. Those are being said. So tryouts, how do I want to say it? Coaches want to win, right? They're going to put the kids that they feel are best in those positions to make those teams. And teams are based on a lot of different things, and what are available, those kind of things. Varsity versus sub-varsity, Steve's already talked about that. When we talk about that, I had my older son, and I'm a varsity basketball coach, and I've done that for 19 years. My younger son played freshman basketball. Did great, learned how to lead. Played JV basketball. Everybody's like, why isn't your son up on varsity? He's not ready. As a junior, was on varsity, started, had a really good year. As a senior, was all-state. And I watched as Steve talked about the development in which that boy learned how to lead. Okay? I will tell you right now, when I'm a varsity basketball coach, if I have freshmen on my basketball team, we're not very good. And that might be hard to hear. Okay? If I have to have freshmen on my team, I must have done something not so well in the previous years to develop some upperclassmen. Or we might have been on the down cycle. A few years ago, we had 3 freshmen on varsity. It was one of my most miserable years because it's hard for a 15-year-old boy to be with an 18-year-old man. That's tough. That is hard to do. And they're at different levels. And maturity, physical, those kind of things. There are some exceptions, there really are, but it's very, very tough. So there's nothing wrong with sub-varsity. Our baseball coach tells us, and he went on to play professional baseball, his best year in high school was when he's on the freshman baseball team in Berkeley. And he got moved up to varsity and he had struggled because he was with older kids. But he still remembers that freshman year of baseball was fun. And he really enjoyed that. So, missed class time. There's going to be times, particularly, we don't do it much with sub-varsity, there's going to be times when you have to get out of class early. You're going to miss your last period of the day. Okay? And that is hard sometimes, particularly, if you're in the spring sports right now, baseball, softball, some of the tennises, you're going to miss golf. If you're a spring golfer, well, you can't play 18 holes after school. So you got Monday big time tournaments. But you're going to miss all of class on Monday, right? So how do you do that? Well, you talk to your teacher and let them know a couple weeks in advance. I'm going to miss this day. What do I got to do? You're in charge of making up that work. And you know what? You'll do it. You'll be fine. You'll learn how to adapt, and you'll get through it. So, daily class schedule. Typical practices are 2 hours every day, right? And sometimes on Saturdays. My basketball team, we have a game Friday night. We're in the weight room at 10 a.m. the next morning, getting ready to go out on Saturdays. So sometimes that happens, but you're going to want to practice. You'll be practicing every single day, probably for 2 hours throughout your season. So you need to learn that time management, those kind of things, how to do that. I'll give you another quick anecdote. My son, freshman year, college baseball, I go to fall ball, I take him and his suite mates out to dinner, and all of a sudden the suite mates are dying, right? They can't stay awake during dinner, and I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, we're dead. We don't know, I mean, we're practicing 3 hours. And I looked at my son, I said, he's like, we're studying all night. I looked at my son, I said, are you studying? What's going on? He's like, I've learned time management, I do my homework during the day. They do it at night. So that's what Cranbrook teaches you. It really will. And then travel there. I mean, we will travel some places. There are some teams that go overnight. Right? Our hockey team sometimes goes to Calumet every 2 years. So they stay overnight for 2 nights. Our tennis team goes over to East Grand Rapids and for state meets. So there are some of those long travels. Most of them are right around here. Parent meetings. I think you're up.
So at the beginning of every season, usually after we have tryouts, the coach will email all the parents on the roster. We'll have parent meetings. And that's the time for the coach to work with you parents to talk about what the team expectations are. Talk about the depth chart. Mr. Finney had just talked about, if we're returning 15 seniors, there's not a lot of room for additional athletes. So it really depends season by season. It depends on graduation. It depends on the sport. So coach will go over all of that with you. What is the letter criteria? What are the expectations for attendance? Can you miss athletes? Do you get to miss 1 freebie, 2 freebies, 3 freebies? And the coaches will talk about that. They'll usually talk to you parents about how you might help with the journey. And that is if you want to provide snacks. It's not mandatory, by the way. Okay, you're not required to provide snacks. Okay, our kids, I've told many people, our parents do all this work. They get all these post-game snacks. They put them in the locker room. And I walk in that locker room 15 minutes after they all leave, and there's all the snacks. Why? Because the kids are all going out to eat together. Or they're going home with mom and dad and having dinner. So the coach will talk about some of those particulars. Banquets. The parents are basically run the banquets for each of the teams, not the school, not the coaching staff. Okay? So you'll learn some things about that. Any travel situations, any bonding activities, and so on. We are not pay to play. And boy, I got to say that a little bit tongue-in-cheek. It is not our intent. Do we have some sports that are? Yes. If you look up their crew, it's a very expensive sport. Those boats are ridiculously expensive. So it goes beyond our budget. It's how we make it happen. Figure skating. Our figure skaters buy their own uniforms. In fact, many of them pay their own coaches on the side and then work a little bit with our coaches. Skiing. I can't afford to buy the 2 sets of skis for giant and for slalom and those speed suits. We have to be canceling other sports if I start to do that. Okay? So there will be some fees associated. Our football team comes in the very first week and we do training camp. They stay in the dorm for a week. It's a bonding opportunity. So moms and dads pay for the meals and the time in the dorm for that first week. We take some bonding trips. Our baseball team heads down to Florida in the springtime. Okay? That's unfortunately not on my budget. So the parents do some fundraising to help with that. Sometimes our lacrosse team will go down to Ohio and play some games. There's certain equipment that we don't provide. We try to provide a lot, okay, but there's some pieces of equipment we don't. Gloves and lacrosse helmets and some of the hockey stuff that goes with that, the golf clubs, tennis rackets, things of that nature. Spirit wear. We basically have a student store. So what happens is as soon as we get the roster, we mail it out to parents. And you can, on your own, purchase any and all that you want to. Directly through, we work with BSN, they help us with this. And so if you like polos with, you know, whatever your child is wearing. The athletes, if you want to have a particular pair of shorts or a hoodie or whatever the case may be, you do all that yourself. You can size it up yourself, and I no longer have to deal with inventory. Okay? You will see me at the gate, or any number of us at the gate, charging. You are not charged. Okay? We charge our spectators, in part because they charge us when we go to their place. So that was our way of saying, okay, well, we'll get you guys, and all that money goes into weight room improvements and so on. So it's going right back to school. But as I said, the only time you'll be charged for home games for us is in the MHSA playoffs, and that's required. We're required to do the paperwork on that and send that to the state. Okay, and as I mentioned, banquets, team photos, etc. Communication, our job, our coaches, and it's always a challenge because some coaches are better communicators than others. I'm just being frank. Okay, and so we really work hard to encourage our coaches to be good communicators. We require and ask students that you advocate for yourself. So what I'm going to tell you is this, and I told this to my daughter, I was in a meeting, I got a call from my daughter, junior year, and she's in tears. Dad, I don't know why I'm not playing. And I said, well, did you ask the coach? What do I ask her? About why you're not playing? You know, at that point, it's really easy. Athletes in here, I know that's scary. Coaches are big, scary guys, gals. They're not. They're good people. And they want to help you evolve and grow. Do I have some coaches that say, oh, no, you have nothing to worry about. You'll be fine. Go ahead. And I work really hard with our coaches to say, no, that's not what these students need to hear. If they're lacking in an area, a skill, a work, an attitude, whatever, share that with them so that they can develop that and grow. So athletes, what I'm going to tell you is never be afraid to talk to your coach. And I mean that with all sincerity, okay? If you want to know something, go in. And then moms and dads, if we're not getting some of the answers you need, come on to us, okay? We never talk about playing time. That just is what it is. Coaches, I pay them to make those tough decisions. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, not all things aren't equal. So playing time is earned. How much time did you put in? How hard are you working? How well are you picking up the systems? Are you missing practice? Are you healthy? You know, all these things come into play, students. I've had so many students say, well, I don't want to do that. The coach doesn't like me. I will tell you right now, take that out of your brain, because a coach is not playing you because he or she doesn't like you. Okay? Coaches love any student that puts in the time, the energy, the work, and is coaching. It's really that simple. It really, really is. So athletes know that. I would really want that to resonate when you go home tonight. You're coming to a program that we want to develop you. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You may get an answer you don't want to hear, but you're going to get an answer, and that will equip you with what you need to work and get better. Resiliency, remember that word again? Be resilient, okay? As Coach mentioned, we handle the busing. A lot of schools in the public schools where I have a hard time finding bus drivers, frankly. And there's a lot of schools that just say, you find your way there, or we'll get you there and you find your way home. Okay, and that's, at least schools take good care of us. The selection process, okay, and how we nominate captains. Coach already mentioned vacations, so gang, here's the big alert. If your child is in a fall sport, your summer vacation just got shorter. Okay, and you need to hear that. I've had multiple phone calls, even in the last couple days. Well, does my child need to be there? What I will tell you, if your child intends to play on the team, yes. It's when tryouts happen, okay? It's when bonding happens. A lot of teaching happens at that point. Conditioning happens at that point. And just try to imagine, athletes, imagine you showing up to a team 3 or 4 weeks later. What that's like. It's hard. Now you don't know what's going on. You don't know the system. You're not quite game ready. You know, it's disadvantaging you. So this is the real tough part, and there's the times there. Okay? This is set by the MHSA, not Kramer. The good news is, it's a little later this year. Last year, we started the beginning of August. Our students were here almost 5 weeks before school started. A little scary. Okay? So if anybody has any questions about any of those sports specifically, you can catch us afterwards. I'll connect you to the coaches, and we'll get those answered for you. But just know it's important to be there for all the right reasons. Okay? Yeah.
So, contests start essentially 2 weeks after that date up there.
Yeah.
So, we will have 3 football games in before school starts. Half of our golf season will be finished before school starts. So, just to put that in perspective, contests will be going, those final 2 weeks in August. So.
It's a real change, I know, again, for many of you coming from our middle school, that starts later. I'm also going to say this, athletes, if you weren't in one of those fall sports, I'm going to encourage you to think about trying one of those fall sports, and here's why. Because you will have already been at school, in essence, for a couple of weeks. You will have already made relationships. You will have already spent time in the cafeteria, had sleepovers, been hanging out in the locker room, made friends, and those friends will be sophomores, juniors, seniors, and other freshmen. You actually start ahead of the game because you've been hanging out. By the time school starts, you're already one of the guys. So think about that if you're teetering. Don't be afraid to take a chance, take risks on that, okay? By the way, do we have any border families here right now? We don't. Okay, so you will want to circle back with us right after because we try to get you here, and sometimes that's we have work to have you with host families because our athletes, our coaches want you all here. Some start later, and we just try to do the best we can with that. Some have commuted and made a couple of practices depending on how far they had to travel. So make sure that you connect with us so we can talk a little bit more specifically about that. I'm glad I asked that question. How about the winter sports? Well, I'm going to say your Thanksgiving, maybe your winter holiday may look a little different. Okay? If you're a hockey player, and I'm guessing and I should have asked by sports here just to show of hands, and I may do that at the end there. But our hockey team will have a Thanksgiving tournament. Okay, we have varsity and JV Thanksgiving tournament. Coach Finney has a basketball Thanksgiving tournament. And you had a holiday tournament.
27th, 28th December.
Okay, think about, and what makes it challenging is this. In a typical community, that's kind of normal. We're a community with families and athletes, students coming from all different directions. We're a little more apart, I guess is the word I want to say. So that gets to be a little more challenging. But I want you to think about that, please. Athletes, moms and dads, okay? Because that's the next piece. Spring, your spring break looks different. Now what I'm going to say to you is this. By the MHSAA, we have a week for tryouts, which is usually a miserable time of year. You guys know how early March looks. And then we go for 2 weeks on spring break. Now, mind you, our Catholic League opponents, some of them are still here and they're practicing. Our public school opponents, some of them are still here and practicing. For Coach Finney, it's a nightmare trying to schedule over that 3-4 week period. But what's unique is this. Typically, our varsity athletes will go away the first week of spring and then come back the second week of spring. And I will say this, our sub-varsity athletes most of the time wait till school starts when they come back in spring. So again, when we've been thinking about this varsity, junior varsity piece, I want you to think about that. We'll be communicating that. I might as well say right now, moms and dads, what's different from us in middle school, you won't sign up for sports. We'll be setting out posters. Our athletes and captains will be soliciting. We'll be calling for meetings. And the word will start to get out. Okay, so that's real different than what you're used to coming from our middle school. Okay, so think about that a little bit. And as I said, our baseball team spends the end of that break down in Florida. It's a great trip. Let's talk the graduation requirements. This is always a big one, and I know those that attended our matriculation meeting, we talked about that. So, it is not an athletic requirement. You don't say it is not an athletic requirement. It is an activity requirement. So how do you meet that? If you are coming in as a freshman, and you transfers, I'll talk about this in a second. If you're coming in as a freshman, you have 4 years to complete 8 credits of activity. 4 years. Now, what we say is this, freshmen, try to take 3 your first year, take 3 your second year, take 2 your junior year, so you don't have to worry about it your senior year. But if you don't follow that formula, you have 4 years to complete 8 credits. Okay, so none of you here in this room will call about that, right? So if you're coming in as a sophomore, you have 5 credits to graduate. Let's talk about how we earn those credits. For every sports season you play, you get a credit. We have an intramural program. We break the school year down into 4 7-week sessions. So maybe you play one sport in the fall, and you want to do an intramural in the winter or spring. Okay, you've taken care of 2 or 3 credits. Okay, we also, because remember that 559 students, that means there's another, my math is not very good, okay, so somewhere around 300 students that aren't playing sports at all, 0. How are they getting their credits? Probably intramurals. Some of them are involved in Model UN, newspaper editors, yearbook, some of those things that maybe not physical, but they're still kind of team-like. And you're still putting in lots of hours. So we give you credit. Some of you in this room might be year-round tennis players. And let's say you're a girls tennis player. And in the fall, you work with a pro. And in the winter, you work with a pro. You're going to come up to our office, and Ms. Tufts is going to give you a waiver form, and you're going to fill that form out, and you're going to get credit. We really want to make it easy for you to get credit. Moms and dads, you don't sign up for it. You don't call for it. Okay? Your children will make this happen. Okay? Give them that responsibility, and students, literally, if you have any questions, I'll talk about it in orientation in August. We'll cover all the bases for you. Nothing to worry about there. Just got to make sure you're keeping on, working with your advisor to make sure that you do. Okay? So are there any questions on that waiver? Gang, I hope that's the easiest thing you have to do here, because it should be, quite frankly. Okay? All right, good. We follow the MHSA. So here's what I'm going to tell you, gang. We're getting ready for the state championships in tennis. Our girls are getting ready for that in a week. Okay? Guess what also falls in there? Well, we can't control that prom is during states. We can't control that graduation is during states. I'll tell you a tough one. I've been here, this is my 10th year. Our golf team hasn't been to graduation in my entire time. Why? Because they're playing golf at the state championship on their graduation. It just is what it is. So I've had parents just rail on us. How could you possibly schedule it? We didn't. The MHSA, they're the boss. Okay? And we've got to go by that. So understand that. Okay? It's important for you to know they establish all the eligibility rules, everything. Okay? And we follow that. We're a good active member. And we're very well respected as a school because of it. If those of you want to stay involved in your club sports, you sort of can. So let's say it's soccer season. Okay? You can play for Cranbrook. You can train with your club soccer team in the same season if you want. I worry about your bodies. I worry about fatigue. I worry about your ability to get your homework done. Okay? I'll just say that on the front end. But you can do it. Here's what you can't do in the same season. You can't also compete for your club. Does that make sense? In the off season, do your thing. All the MHSA says is during your season doing that sport, under the MHSA guidelines, you can't also do club at the same time. Same sport. Make sense? Okay? So hockey players, you play for us, I hope, and not your club during our season. Our coaches are limited. So I've had families say, well, how come the coach is not doing more with the teams in the off season? It's illegal. We're allowed to do we can work with any one of our coaches up to 4 students. That's it. And if we use a middle school student in that, they count as one of the 4. We can't go out and run 7-on-7 practices all school year. We can't go run a hockey practice all school year. We can't assemble. We can't require it. Even from the strength and conditioning, you can do that year-round, and coaches can work with that. We cannot make that mandatory. Okay? So understand that. It's not our coaches slacking. We're just following the rules. All right? We are also, as you heard, we are associate members of the Catholic League. There are a number of associate members now that are part of that league. Lutheran North and ourselves joined at the same time 9 years ago. We have been a real factor in the Catholic League. As of late, University Liggett and Green Hills over in Ann Arbor both joined. Okay? So we're getting more of a factor. Here's what I'll tell you very simply about the Catholic League. It's tough. Competitive. They play hard. They play 4 quarters to the end. They just get in you until either you quit or you win. Okay? I would tell you 9 years ago, a lot of people said Cranbrook in the Catholic League, they're going to lose their athletic program. And what I'll tell you, thankfully, is that it made us better. It made our coaches work harder. It made our coaches prepare more. And our student athletes, it took about 3 years, started to realize we're going to be okay. If we train, we practice, we prepare, we can compete. And they do, and now that's all everybody knows. So we've been doing some really good things in our factory in the Catholic League. I'm just going to say, we're nearing the end, by the way. So, I wanted to start to eliminate some slides, and I wanted to cut pictures out, and I couldn't. Because what I'm showing you right now are some kids that are playing collegiate. Okay? And I'm going to say here, yes, I can use this pointer here. He's working at Harvard. She just won the Division III National Championship last Friday. Okay, Cordelia. Isabel Skane right here. If you follow lacrosse, got any lacrosse players in here? All right, well, let's just say Izzy's a freshman. Led the state of Michigan in scoring. She's at Northwestern right now, and she was 7 weeks in a row the Big Ten Freshman of the Week. She's going to end up being an All-American as a freshman. She's killing it, you know. So here at Bates, our crew team, they are ranked #1 in the nation in rowing. Elizabeth Fairman. Here's Sophie Milia. She just won the national championship a week ago in lacrosse for the Savannah School of Art and Design, NAIA National Championship. Johnny Wagner over here at Marquette. There's Mr. Finney's boy. Jordan's up there pitching. So what I'm saying is this. We got a whole lot of kids doing a lot of great things. And I started following them about 5 years ago. And it's just so fun because now they're captains. Up there, Ari, she's the first walk-on Michigan's girls lacrosse team. First walk-on to make the team. Wow. Okay? When you think about the things that happen here. When I said try something, so athletes, let me tell you something about Will Lee that's just getting ready to graduate from NYU. Will had never high jumped before. He played basketball actually. We said, "Captain, jump out of the gym." He said, "Why don't you try being a high jumper?" Next thing I know, I'm looking at him in college, and he's nationally ranked. Okay, in the NCAA. It's a beautiful thing. Guest choir here. National championship. I mean, so what's happening is our kids are not only being leaders here, they're taking with them to their schools and the other programs that they do, that leadership. And it's just, it's so fun to watch and see the great things. And as you see here, representation in just about every sport we play here, gang. You're looking at great schools. There's Patrick Brown, played at Boston College. That's the Beanpot. Earlier there was a shot at Patrick Brown because he's playing for the Hurricanes. Now they just got knocked out by the Bruins, but they brought him up, and he was a factor. He was on the ice for all their playoff games. So I want to share that with you because it's pretty cool. Here's some kids that recently, in the last year or two, signed the National Letter of Intent. Not all these are Division I athletes. These are Division II, Division III athletes, but we go through and celebrate that. That's a special moment for us because it's just sharing that. We've got some athletes that were good enough. The ball bounced the right way. The officials made the right call. Coaches coached them up. They stayed healthy, and a coach at some college wanted them. How cool is that? You know. Here's the reality, though, athletes. So right now we've got 74 CK alums that are competing collegiately or in the pros. That's cool. It's a good number. 13 more graduating this year are going to be heading that direction, okay? 7,980,886 play high school athletics. That's a lot of kids, all right? So what I'm going to tell you is this. Aspire and dream. If you're not, start. Okay, we all want to be there. Every one of us that played sports, every athlete I've ever known aspired to be the next guy in the NFL, the NBA, whatever the case may be. That's what helps motivate you. And that's all right. Do it. And I hope you get there, by the way. Okay? There's just some numbers that I want you to see. And actually, I put the slide up, but I see it's really hard. But the big key is this, is knowing that the percentage. So that however many million that was again, here's the percentage in those particular sports that go on and play collegiately. And they even broke it down for you here, Division I, Division II, Division III. By the way, you can go to the NCAA, Google that, it's right there for you. That's where I stole it from today. All right, so I just want to show you that. And that's for all the men. Oops. Here it is for you ladies. So it gives you an idea. Now, here's a pretty good one for you. If there's any female hockey players in this group? Okay, because that's a pretty good number right there. 25% who play in high school are going on to play collegiately. I like that number. That's pretty darn good. A couple things that we want to talk about. First of all, we use Hudl to film our games. Our Booster Club has helped us with that. So what that does is it allows our coaches to coach. It's a great learning tool for our athletes. It's also a tool that the athletes use to make their highlight films and send off to college coaches. So it's a really nice touch that we utilize that for. Our college counseling. We typically did a college counseling, or should I say college athletics recruiting seminar. We typically did that in this time of year. We decided we're going to do it early next fall. So if those of you in this room have interest in wanting to know more about that, we're going to have a seminar. We'll announce it. We'll get the word out, and we hope you'll attend. It really comes down to coach, student. Here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to eliminate this myth. The coach does not determine whether a kid is recruited. Remember, college coaches have two things in mind. They want to continue to be able to feed their family. Thus, they want to be able to keep their job. Or at the Division III level or Division II level, they're looking to get to the next level. Or if they're at a lower Division I level, they're looking to get to Michigan. Okay? Michigan State. That's reality. So it's not about big hearts and good kids. It's about great, best athletes they can find. And oh, by the way, they're just not looking at Bloomfield Hills. Okay? Nationally, and in some sports, internationally. And we have to keep that all in perspective. Doesn't mean athletes that we don't aspire, we don't work hard, because great things happen. If any of you have siblings that want to sign up for some of the summer camps, not a bad idea. Get in there, get to meet our coaches. Some of you can do the same. It's all online. These are the camps that we have, and I won't spend a lot of time with that. All of you are officially members of our Booster Club. You already are. Okay, thank you. Welcome. It's good to have you. A couple things that we're going to tell you. We have our big Lax Jamboree coming up actually this time of year every year, the first weekend in June. We'll have roughly 8,000 to 10,000 people here from around the region. Youth leagues playing a lacrosse jamboree. It's quite a thrill. It's a heck of 48 hours, but we're always looking for volunteers. And so anybody that can help with parking would love to have you. We also do a kind of a special Gold Booster Club fundraiser, which is at the picnic, and you'll all be at the picnic at the beginning of the school year. And you'll see a Booster Club table amongst all the other tables, and we'll be soliciting gold membership, little extra money. Yes, as I said, you're already boosters. But that little extra money goes to a little gift to you. This year it was Yetis, and then it goes right back into the athletic program. And for you, we throw right around Super Bowl, we throw a tailgate party. We're not soliciting funds. It's just fun for you. Come on, let's all hang out with the coaches, have some food, and enjoy each other's time for a couple hours before the Super Bowl. That's really all it is. Again, no other agenda on that. And then finally, we have a Booster Club GrandNet page. Now, if you didn't get the little guides that I see you looking at there, PowerPoint, this is going to be on GrandNet. This is going to be sent back to all of them through, or is that just going to go international?
These will go out to everybody.
Okay, so you'll get this. So what I'm going to say to you here before I open it up to questions is if you want to connect with a specific coach, and I'll start with the varsity coaches, and then we can kind of work our way down. All this information, the emails are there, and you can always email us, and we'll help connect the dots. Because we know you're trying to figure out, well, what about this? What about that? How do I know if this is what we're here to help you. Okay? And it's a little hard to read, I think, and a lot to try and write down. So you already have that in your slides, and we will have it. Here's our information. Our door is always open. We are here to help. We're here to serve. And finally, I'm going to open it up for any of us to questions. How do we do on time, by the way? Okay, we shoot for hour 15. Yes?
I have two questions.
Okay.
First question is, do you have athletic training program for kids who want to be a part of CSC?
Steve usually has one. The question is, do we have people that, and thank you all for coming, by the way. Thank you all as you leave here. Steve will usually have one or two kids in the school year that will help with that. Typically juniors and seniors that aspire to maybe go into training. Yes.
And then the second question, you said that there was a parents meeting. What about for board?
Same thing. And unfortunately, because our borders are all over the world, that sometimes is a little more challenging. But coaches try to communicate that via Cranette and Ross. What other questions? Jessica? Yeah.
So my son's transferring in as a sophomore.
Okay.
Now, like, he's more or less from school, or he's still being waiver.
We will fill out that form I sent you. We'll have to send it to the state saying he is transferring even though he hadn't played another sport. And on that it'll say sports played at your high school. And you'll write that.
Good to go?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we'll all sign off on it.
We have to, and the principal will at the former school.
Yes, he will.
Yeah, that's just part of the formality of it. Well, yes.
On what day is the tryouts for soccer? Because it has committees on it, one for JV and one for varsity.
Well, it's going to depend on you. I don't know if you're a varsity athlete or a sub-varsity athlete. What I would say is you're probably going to want to connect with Chad O'Coolidge, our coach, and he'll kind of give you a sense. Here's what I've got returning. What grade are you, freshman?
No, that's fine. Yeah, I'm coming.
Yeah, so that will be a conversation that you'll have between the coach, and coach will give you some guidance on that. That'll hopefully help. What else? Yes?
Is it Josephy's training a part of the
Great call, I'm glad you asked that. So we do not have our own strength coach, and I'm going to say that in the beginning, and then I'm going to turn around and say, part of the reason we're doing so well is because we've outside contracted a strength coach. So we try to offer that up to all of our teams, each of the sessions. John Tenuta is our strength guy, and he does a wonderful job making us bigger, stronger, faster, less prone to injury. And so we do that. It's at a fee, unfortunately, because I don't have a budget for it. What ends up happening is we charge the students $4 per session, and then my budget and the Booster Club budget picks up the difference. So, and we will be communicating that out, as will our coaches. I think it's the next step to our future success.